Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany. I'm the Tipsy Artist, and today we're going to be painting this very cute Santa Highland cow. So I just love him, and we're going to be doing something really fun and different. I do this kind of painting a lot, but I'm starting to introduce it into my classes. So it is the use of a palette knife. So I've got some painting kits now that I'll be including the palette knife and then doing the process of using this with the online tutorial. So I'm very excited. So I love this. This is a great tool. All right. So again, there's our little visual. Here in just a moment, we're going to switch camera views. You'll have a nice aerial view over what I'm painting close up, and then we'll have this nearby so you can constantly reference it. And then let's go ahead and talk about the traceable line art and the process to do this. All right, so here it is. This comes with the kit, and we've got your canvas panel and your transfer paper, and then also here's the line art that I give you in the kit here too. So how do we do this? So it's very simple. First thing I will do is I will just tape right up here at the top, just a couple of places here. Dull gray side faces up, and then shiny black side faces the canvas. I leave everything else untaped so that I can constantly lift up and check my work and make sure that I did go over every line as I did it. So that's important. Then I take the line art and I just go ahead on this one. It just real simple, lines up at the top, centered in the middle here. Again, just two little strips of paint there to secure it. Leave this still just free so you can constantly check the work. Then there is a pencil that comes with your kit here. I'm going to grab one of mine just to show you. And so you're going to use this to go ahead. Every time you see a line, you'll just draw right over the top. And so that will transfer the image to the canvas. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lift this top part off here. And then ta-da, magically done, worked ahead. Okay, so there is also a permanent marker that comes with the kit. They usually have, oh, here's one. So, yeah. So what I do is I go ahead and do another hard line over our trace. That way it stays where you can see it. It'll bleed through the paint a little bit, and that way you don't risk losing all your hard work that you did with your transfer process here. The hair is really not that necessary. I'm going to go ahead and let that just be the graphite line there, but the really key shapes, I do go ahead and hard line those in. It's like the size of the face here, the nose, eyes, hat, horns. So now we're good, and then we can go ahead and paint into that and know that our shape is very secure. You can also go ahead and do the little eyes. I'll do a little bit of that to where you can see it over here too. All right, so we're going to go ahead and switch camera views. By the way, this is a little view of my studio here. I have a view of my lovely garden. I'm going to have to figure out how to show you all that because it's so pretty. And then so I can see the sunshine and have all the sunlight coming in. And this is where I paint in the back of my studio. So yeah, so I'd like to come up and say hello first, and then we'll start painting. So here we go. I'm gonna put a little footstool. I'm gonna scoot that nearby. That's what that noise is. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I'm situated here. Get this up, make sure you can see everything. All right, good deal. Okay, so I've got my little eyes here. I can go ahead and mark those in. I'm going to leave the white flash points just white. All right, so lots of personality already emerging. So it's lovely. Okay. All right, so making sure we have all of our supplies out. We have our bucket of water here. We have your supplies. So this is what comes with the kit. Of course, mine are Very loved and used. Yours will be brand new, but we have our mama brush, and then we have a little buddy brush, and then we have a little bit brush. And then for this class, I also have a palette knife. Got my napkins, our little plate here to put our paint on. Your paint kit will look like this to begin with. Very lovely paints. Royal and Lane Nikki. Love them. Great job, y'all. And then I like to, because they're so long lasting and there's a lot of very abundant servings of the paint, if you will. So I always end up having a lot of extra. So I like to use those up as I do my classes. So I have those off to the side there. And I have a start here with a little bit of some Mars Black and some titanium white. And when you go to open your paint in the beginning, this one should be, yeah, this one's used, but a new one will have a silver foil liner, and you'll have to peel that off so that the paint can flow out. And every time you're done using your paint, you want to go ahead and seal that cap so that it protects your paint, keeps it fresh and long lasting. All right, so goody goody, what are we going to do first? Okay, let's go ahead and do our background first here. So I am going to start with some primary cyan blue. I'll do a nice nickel-sized dollop of that. And I'm going to go ahead and use the mama brush. Now, you are using a new brush, so we want to add a little bit of flexibility to this and a little bit of moisture. So I'm going to go ahead and put it into the water, and then I'm going to go ahead and just dab off here, release that excess water. Then I'm going to go ahead and pick up a nice big dollop of white, little tiny touch of that blue. We're going to go ahead and work into that light blue there. So pretty. And there's a little bit of slate happening here too in different parts. So that is just a teeny tiny touch of the black. And that'll pull in that little bit of gray quality to that blue too, which is also really nice. All right, so our sky here, we're going to go ahead and just kind of crisscross back and forth to make that texture in the sky. And we can touch right into the blue to also push some of that into to have different areas of the sky have a little bit more of that hint of darker blue running through there. It's just a really pretty way to add a little bit of variety. But basically this stroke is very simple. Just keep loading up the brush, little tiny dollops on the flat side of the brush, and then just go ahead and crisscross that paint on in the large area of the canvas here. And then as we go ahead and do our cut-in work, we want to go ahead and hold the brush more like a pencil. That'll give us a thin line edge on the edge side of the brush. Allows you to be a little bit more detailed. And then as we get back out into the background again, you can kind of start to feather out those little crisscross strokes, just back and forth. And if you see a little peekaboo of white canvas still peeking through, you can add a little bit of water to that and help get more saturation and help that paint really flow into the pores of the canvas. I'm going to have to do a little bit more mixing as we go here. So cutting around that horn. And let's feather out those strokes, little crisscrosses back and forth. Okay. And to have a little bit of that cloud cover happening, I'm going to do a little bit of white as I go. I just do little pushes of that, crisscross back and forth there to blend it in. Now we have our palette knife here too, so what's fun is do a little touch into that white, and you can also do little pushes of that into your sky. So that adds some nice little texture. It's really fun to play with that. You bring that a little bit closer. And I go into that blue a little bit, kind of push that in. Push down a little bit of pressure and then lift off with a light hand. And dry that off, see, just like that. Let's do a quick little wipe. Now a little bit more fun with our palette knife. So I've got little, I just basically just press down into the white, and now I'm just going to push down, kind of just do a light, gentle scrape there. It's always different. Just add some nice texture. It's a really fun, playful quality to it. So you get that really gorgeous texture happening there. You can also come back in with a little bit more of the blue. Make it a little bit more subtle if you want to. And again, when I'm done, I just kind of do a quick little wipe. Clean that up. Velvet white, a little touch of the blue. Touch of black there too if you want. And the cutting work, you use the line edge of the brush. It's pretty tiny in there. So I'm going to use my little buddy brush now, just kind of dip into a little bit of that blue and do that little bit of cutting work right in there. And I'm going to add a little bit of water so that it can flow into that space. Rinse out. Well, white, little touch of blue. Again, just kind of crisscross that color here into the background. So the letter X. A little crisscross there. Vomit in the water. I'm gonna do a little touch of white. It's gonna push that across. Get back and forth. It's always kind of a surprise to see what happens. Do a little bit more of the blue and kind of push that over the top too. So you get a little bit of a mix back and forth. And some really fun textures are emerging. And just to give me an idea of how fun it can be with different colors too, like I'm just gonna barely touch into that blue. And just kind of push that across too. Play with some of those colors and just kind of see what happens. Sounds fun. Put more white in there. All right, quick little wipe. All right, good. Baby. Okay, there's a lot of blue on it. All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and finish washing mama here. Round and round and round. So release that paint from the brush. Let me get my little fan going here on me. Start to heat up back here a little bit. All right. So next step here, I'm going to go ahead and do some of the white. This part of the hat here. All right, so it's mostly white. Teeny tiny little touch of blue, though. It's way too much. So that would make it dark red. Super tiny amount. See how that's just a little bit of black and it went all the way to that medium gray. And you can add little tiny touches of this light slate blue in here too. So I'm going to go ahead and work this into this little section here. You can actually start to cover up the line, the black line that we made. It shows you where that shape is. And touch into a little bit of that light blue. Makes a nice little hint of color in there. A little bit more of that light white as we get next to that sky, so there's contrast. And squeegee out the remaining paint, and then you can take your little palette knife here and just do, light little strokes here to add some palette knife texture to it. I just really love the way that looks. You can also come in with a little bit of that lighter blue. Just a little touches in there with it. Little pushes, tiny little pushes. It's very subtle. Now we're going to go ahead and work on those cute little horns. I'm going to take my little fluffy brush here. I'm going to grab a dollop of the white, little tiny touch with the black, and we're going to mix those two together. This is going to give us a light gray. So I have a little bit of blue in there. That's okay. That works. And I'm going to go ahead and work that into that horn there. So a little bit of that black. Make it a little bit of a darker gray on this one. Darker charcoal here. Pushes that, we'll go right up to that tip in there. We'll grab a little bit more white here, just kind of like rolling to do a light little swish of that white right on top. Right, I'm going back into more black with the white, a darker charcoal gray, and I'll lay that down first. Put that nice base coat of that charcoal gray down. And we're going to sweep it white. Same thing there. Oh, very cute. Right, let's go ahead and rinse out. All right, we can do some red now. So let's use some cadmium red. Nice nickel-sized dollop of that. And you can cool it off a little bit. You can keep it warm like that, or you can cool it off a little bit with a little touch of some primary magenta. Rinse out my mono brush here. Give her another little bath here. Burn pressure, round and round and round. I'm also going to take this top napkin off. Keep this a little bit separate from my palette knife. It gets pretty messy. We're going to keep this clean for the brushes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come in and mix these two up just a little bit. This is the primary magenta and then the cadmium red. So push those two together. And I'm going to place this. We'll use mom as much as we can to get into that larger area. So I'm going to take the brush, hold it a little bit more over to the side, push that back and forth, get some nice opaque coverage over the top. Leave her in the water for just a moment. Then I'm going to use my little buddy brush here. We're going to get a little bit of a shadow happening in that crease. So I'm going to mix a little bit of this black with the red. Mix those two together just a little bit. And then in here, I'm just going to kind of slightly kind of drag the brush up, kind of wiggle it a little bit and lift off with the right hand. So a little wiggle on the side of the brush and then lift off with the right hand. So we're just getting some nice little creases happening. Get one rinse out here. Dry off. Same thing here. The pink still left. Keep going. All right. So now we're going to work on a little bit of a base here for our hair underneath. And I'm going to take, I want a little bit of brown off to the side to work with. So I've got my Cadmium Orange. Do a little dollop here. Recap. Also going to have a little bit of yellow off to the side to start to play with. And a little bit of our primary yellow here too. So I'm going to start to mix a little bit of brown. So I've got my orange and my black. We're going to mix those two together and make some brown. It's just definitely useful and nice to have off to the side there. And so that's the dark brown. You can also have a little bit of white to it. That lighter brown, that's going to be nice too to have that to play with. And then I also want to make sure we've got some cream. So I'm going to take a little bit of that light brown, a little bit of this yellow, and some of that white. We're going to get all that together. So kind of a nice khaki. This cream color too, more white we have especially. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start to push this down into the hair. This is our little buddy brush. And then you can do a little bit of brown too as you go and push that through. And as you're working in this texture, you almost want to kind of act like you're sort of just combing through hair. There's going to be like a soft parentheses stroke. So if you're making one of those, then lift off with a light hand. I'm going to come around the eye with this lighter color. Careful to carry in a little bit. And this little cow has got a little bit of hair that kind of comes in over the eye, but for the most part, we are going to try to be a little bit careful for the most part, leave that eye intact. Just come around it. And then I want that shadow in place there, so I'm going to come in with my darker brown and work that around that. And some of that darker brown in here where I know it's making a little bit of a shadow underneath. Tiny little strokes, and then you can kind of go back and forth between the light and the dark. I'm going to get a little bit more just pure orange on standby too. Be nice to have that as a little bit of an accent too. And a little bit of that cadmium orange. Or cadmium yellow, sorry. Cadmium yellow is right there. So little tiny strokes for that hair. And to add some more vibrant highlights, I'm going to come in with just pure white right over the top. Do little sweeps of that. And to make those really tiny little hairs kind of come in over the top, I'm going to grab a little touch of the yellow. I'm just kind of barely come in and do little tiny lines. So I want to make sure I've got plenty of this cream, so I have a little bit more white over here. Look into that. Start to sweep this in. You can add a little bit of water to that too to help it flow in to the space. Do a little bit of just neat cut-in work here that's not too textural. Just go ahead and get a nice coat of paint over the top. We'll definitely be coming in with a lot more texture here in a little bit, but I'm trying to get that base coat down. Just those sweeps out to the side. And grab a little bit more of that brown, and work that in. And we get that shadow in here. The darker browns. Little sweeps of color. I'll gradually touch into some brights with that orange, and they even do teeny tiny little touches of the red. Looking at that cream there next to the nose. And again, the strokes are just always going to continue to be that really just light kind of pushes with a little bit of a flip up at the end. I'm going to grab a little bit more of my cadmium orange and my black. More brown here. It's a little bit darker here. And you can look in a little bit of the light as you go, and softly blend the two together. The orange in there too. Some rust quality to it. It just feels like little soft, like parentheses over and over again. Again, you can add a little bit of water to that to help it flow in to the canvas. Again, just keep doing little pushes to create that texture. And a little bit of water can help there too. Flow into the space. More of that darker brown. Kind of alternating between all these different layers of browns and creams, and you can be very playful with it. Mine's always a little bit different every time I paint it. So you can see it's a lot of repetition, a lot of just like soft little strokes. White here now at the top. And then here a little bit more white. And a little bit more white up here too. Just some touches of that. Right up next to the top and then just pull down. Light drag. Darker brown shadow over here. Soft little curves on this side. It's looking really cute. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse out here. I'm gonna take my little bit brush and I'm gonna do some of this white over here, and there's a tiny little touch of this light cream brown that we have mixed up here. So in order to get this, this is the brown. So brown is orange and black. So it starts really dark. Add a lot of white to this. You can add a tiny little touch of yellow if you're having to recreate more of this. So it's very light. And I'm going to go ahead and paint into this nose here. Leave the black just the way it is. Nostrils there, leave those intact. So this is my little bit brush, smallest brush we've got. So just be really patient with it and careful and go around those little nose shapes thing. A little bit of a push and a curl. And then there's a little bit of a rosy quality that's going to touch into that little bit of red we mixed up, makes some light pink. We're gonna kind of push that back and forth. Just and just take that right through the middle. It's going to softly blend with that color you're already working in. It's going to subdue it a little bit, make it more subtle. There's just kind of a light little pink. I'm just going to run it across the nose here in the center, just like that. And then down here, it's going to become a little bit more intense. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that red. This is that red and primary magenta into that. This is that light brown we just mixed up. bottom section. And then a little touch of the orange. We're gonna let that in. And then I'm gonna come back in with that little bit of dark brown here. So take a little bit, rotate into that. A little black too, I heard. We're gonna reline this. And softly go over the top. And then this is still pretty stark. I want to subdue that a little bit. So I'm going to rotate out that brown and just kind of lightly do a little touch of that brown right over the top. Just kind of darken that, soften it a little bit. So it's not just a bright pink over the top. So a little bit more brown, just right over the top, very gently. Just soften that up. Again, just putting a little bit more brown right over the top. Making that a bit more subtle. A little black right there in that center line. And more black just a little piece. And I'm just kind of feathering out little touches of black here. Shadow. And then I'm going to work in a bit more of the brown. You can work that back and forth. And kind of work that back and forth. I go back and forth between the two to softly blend them out. Just underneath the hat, we have a little bit of a black shadow that's going to come in. So I'm taking my little bit brush and just kind of lining that out at the very tip top there, and just kind of doing tiny little pulls down. Tap, little tiny knots of black and tiny little pulls down into the hair. Light drag and pull down tiny little soft. It's that parenthesis shape again, so a little bit of a soft shape, and then lift off with a right hand. And then we'll go with the right hand, so to work that in. A lot of going back and forth with the lights and the darks. So these are constantly blending with each other and making a little bit more subtle here. A little bit of that yellow and that white. Yellow and white. And some of that longer hair come down through the center. Also come back in with some of that brown too. And you can always make your hair a little bit darker too. It's fun to play with it, play with the color. This is a lot more of that white and a little pop of that yellow in there too. Is kind of nice. A little orange too. That green, a little bit of orange. That's how we get that kind of more of that peachy quality in there too, which is nice. So it's a lot of layering with this. The soft curls. And then a little bit of the darker black, darker brown in here, a little bit more of that shadow in the ear there. You can always come back in and a little bit more of those lighter colors. Yellows. And if you want to have a little bit of that playful where the hair comes in over the top, just be real gentle with it. You can do little tiny drags. Like I'm gonna do a little bit of that yellow with the white. So it comes down from here. Most part, I'm going to have the hair, let the eye kind of peek through, but you can have little touches of hair that kind of come in here above the little nose here, just little soft curves. Place those in. So lots of little tiny strokes with the brush create that look of the hair that comes in over the top. And a little bit dark next to the eye here. And again, a little bit of that white with the white and the yellow. All right, it's looking really cute. Okay, so let's see. You can also add a little bit more. This is set up and dried a little bit here too, so I'm going to come back in and do a little bit of some light. I've got that creamy and brown and a little bit of white. I'm going to do a little tiny touch of that on orange. That accent. I can take a little bit of the water softly. Put that in. I'll grab a little bit more of that. Just something in between the two. Drag this right over the top. Drag the line right over the top. All right, now we can also do a little bit more of some whimsical palette knife treatment here too. So I'm going to take this palette knife and I'm going to touch into a little bit of that red here and just do little touches and drags. So I get a nice little layer here, just like that. Just kind of lightly touch down and then drag down. Just do little touches here and there. Just push and then drag down. It's like a little bit of that fun Christmas green. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this bright yellow green. And some cadmium green. I'm going to take that palette knife and kind of push them together a little bit. That's fine. And so you can just do little drags. Yeah, a little touch of that on one end. And drag it down on the side. So again, just a little push somewhere. And up on the nose, that can be a little bit, ooh, that feels brave, So you can just kind of do like maybe a little teeny one. Just keep it on the very tip top. So, and you can do, like I have mine more towards the base on this one, but like I'm going to do a little bit more there this time. It's kind of fun. Play with it, have fun. All right. Man, I'm loving this. This is cute. All right. So I'm feeling pretty done here. You can always add a little bit more texture to it, have more fun with the palette knife if you want to. But I think for this class, it's like, sometimes it's hard to know when to say, okay, I'm going to stop. But I think I'm going to go ahead and stop. We'll be done. And then of course, signing your masterpiece is always a lovely idea. And I recommend using your permanent marker, but here's the trick. You want to make sure that this paint is completely dry, because if it's still wet, then it can, it will kill your permanent marker immediately. So you just want to make sure that it's completely dry, and then you can sign the masterpiece here. Go ahead and do it. Tipsy Artist. Ta-da. That way you can get really tiny with it too. Just so much easier. I love it, you guys. Oh, one other thing I was going to tell you. If for some reason you did cover up your eyes here somehow inadvertently and you didn't keep your flash points, there is a way to revive them. So there's a little trick here. You take the end of your brush, the wooden handle side, and you can dip into the white. I barely have any white left, but we'll dip right. You know what? I can do this. I can put more white in the right. I was like, that's so little white that it's kind of scary. All right. So I'm going to take this end of the brush and I'm just going to barely dip in. There it is on the tip there. And you just, with a really gentle hand, just go right in over the top. right in over the top. And that helps revive those little flash points. Makes them just really come to life. A lot of personality there. All right, so now I think we're done. Okay. All right, so thank y'all so very much for joining me today. This has been a true pleasure. Love this little guy. He's a cutie pie. And so I look forward to seeing y'all next time. I have a lot of painting I have to do today. So I'll be seeing you very soon. But y'all have a lovely day. And of course, in the future, very Merry Christmas. Doodles.